Let me ask you a question. Have you ever poured your heart into someone only to feel emptier every time you tried to give more? Have you ever bent over backward, trying to please someone, only to be met with silence, blame, manipulation? Or worse, complete indifference? That's not love, that's not kindness. That's you being drained by a narcissist, and today, I want to wake you up. Because there's something more powerful than being nice. And it's time to learn what that is. You've been taught your whole life to be kind, to be giving, to always assume the best in others. That's beautiful, that's human, that's divine. But what no one taught you is that narcissists use your kindness as a weapon. They study you, they mirror you, they praise you, and once they hook you, they flip the script, they gaslight you, they twist your words, they make you question your own reality. And when they're done taking what they need, they discard you like you were never enough. Let me be real with you, being nice to a narcissist isn't kindness, it's self-sabotage, because niceness without boundaries becomes a liability. It's like giving someone the keys to your soul and hoping they won't burn the house down. So what do you do instead? You stop giving them access to the real you. You stop defending yourself to someone who's committed to misunderstanding you. You stop arguing, justifying, and explaining your worth, because the moment you do, you shift the power. You move from being the reactor to the creator. You become the architect of your own emotional space. You choose who gets in, who stays, and who gets cut off. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about playing games. This is about radical self-respect. This is about drawing a line in the sand and saying, you will not manipulate me again. And when they realize you're no longer feeding their ego, they panic. They'll try to guilt trip you. They'll play the victim. They'll even try to bomb you back into the cycle. But you're not falling for it this time. Because now you've learned that not everyone deserves a seat at your table just because they once stood beside you. What you do now is decide. You decide to put your peace over their approval. You decide to honor your intuition over their manipulation. You decide to protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. You want power, you want peace, you want freedom, then stop being nice to people who only love you when you're easy to control. Start being real, start being honest, start being unapologetically loyal to your own soul. Because when you do that, the narcissist loses control. And you rise, not with anger, not with revenge, but with clarity, with purpose, and with the unshakable truth that you are enough, with or without their validation. And from that place, you don't just survive narcissists, you transcend them. It's your time now. Your healing, your rules, your life. Let's go. We've been conditioned from a young age to believe that kindness is always the answer, that if we show enough love, patience, and compassion, people will eventually respond in kind. And in most healthy relationships, that's true. But when it comes to narcissists that approach backfires in the worst way possible, narcissists don't view your kindness as strength. They see it as an opportunity. Every act of generosity you show becomes fuel for their manipulation. Every moment you stay quiet to keep the peace becomes permission for them to push the boundaries further. You think you're showing strength through forgiveness, but to a narcissist, you're signaling weakness. You're showing them that you're willing to tolerate mistreatment, overlook disrespect, and abandon yourself to keep the connection alive. But what you're really doing is slowly disconnecting from your own worth. You're betraying your gut instincts in the name of being good. Let's be clear. Kindness without boundaries isn't compassionate self-neglect. The more you give in the face of their cruelty, the more they will take. It doesn't matter how much love, loyalty, or patience you offer, because narcissists don't want connection, they want control. Your empathy becomes their weapon, your silence becomes their stage, and your people-pleasing becomes their power source. When you're nice to a narcissist, you're not diffusing conflict, you're enabling it. You're teaching them that you'll accept breadcrumbs of affection in exchange for a feast of emotional damage. And the longer you stay in that cycle, the more exhausted, confused, and powerless you become. This isn't about becoming cruel or cold. It's about recognizing that not everyone is worthy of your kindness, especially those who weaponize it. True kindness includes self-respect. It means recognizing when someone is harming you and having the courage to walk away, say no, and draw a line. Being nice to a narcissist is like pouring water into a bottomless pit. No matter how much you give, it's never enough. They'll always want more, and you'll always end up with less. Narcissists don't seek connection, they seek control. And their fuel, what psychologists often call narcissistic supply, comes from one source: your emotional reaction. Whether it's your anger, your tears, your need for validation, or your desperate attempts to be understood, it all feeds their ego. To them, your reactions confirm their power over you. Every time you defend yourself, plead your case, or try to make them see your perspective, you're giving them exactly what they want: attention, significance, control. And the most twisted part, they don't care if it's positive or negative attention. They just want to know they can provoke you. This is why silence is so powerful. Silence strips them of control. When you stop reacting, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop giving them access to your emotional world, they begin to lose their grip on you. That's when the narcissist starts to feel powerless. And that's when you begin to reclaim your own power. Silence, paired with firm boundaries, is like oxygen deprivation to a narcissist. They can't manipulate what they can't access. Boundaries are essential in this transformation. A boundary isn't a wall to keep everyone out. It's a filter to decide who gets to stay and on what terms. It's a declaration of what you will and will not tolerate. Narcissists hate boundaries because it signals the end of their control. When you say, "I'm not available for this conversation," or "I won't tolerate that behavior," you stop being a source of supply, and they start seeing you as a threat to their illusion of dominance. The key is to stop negotiating with them. Don't explain your boundaries. Don't defend your silence. Don't seek their approval for the choices you make to protect your peace. The more you react, the deeper you sink into their game, but when you respond with calm, consistent boundaries and no emotional fuel, they're left staring into a mirror they can't distort. The narcissist may escalate, they may lash out, they may play the victim, but that's just a sign it's working. Because what they fear most isn't your anger, it's your indifference. It's your refusal to be controlled, manipulated, or pulled into their drama. Most people raised to be kind, compassionate, and empathetic often confuse boundaries with cruelty. You might feel guilty saying no, or worry that asserting your needs makes you selfish or cold. But the truth is, boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about keeping your peace intact. They are the clearest declaration you can make that says, "I value myself enough to protect my time, my energy, and my emotional well-being." And when you're dealing with a narcissist, boundaries are not optional. They are necessary for survival. Narcissists don't recognize boundaries naturally. In fact, they test them constantly. They may ignore your requests, dismiss your needs, or push your emotional limits just to see if you'll bend. And if you do, they learn that your boundaries are flexible. They'll keep exploiting the loopholes, Gil, tripping you for asserting yourself and making you feel like the bad guy for daring to say enough. That's the trap they set. Because the moment you enforce a limit, they flip the narrative and paint you as the villain. This is why you must redefine what boundaries mean to you. They're not walls to isolate you. They're gates that protect your inner world from chaos. You wouldn't leave your front door open for anyone to walk through. So why let just anyone have unlimited access to your thoughts, your time, your body, your emotions? You're not being mean when you ask someone not to yell at you. You're not cruel for saying you need space. You're not selfish for saying, "I won't tolerate being manipulated." Boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about controlling your response to what others do. You can't stop a narcissist from being toxic, But you can stop letting them affect your peace, and when you finally put boundaries in place, it changes everything. You no longer feel obligated to fix, explain, or absorb their pain. You shift from being reactive to intentional. You don't wait for someone else to honor your worth. You demonstrate it yourself by refusing to accept anything less. The people who truly care for you will respect your boundaries. The ones who don't will fight them, but that's the point. Boundaries don't just protect your energy, they expose who's really in your corner. One of the biggest traps survivors fall into after dealing with a narcissist is the desperate search for closure. You want answers. You want them to acknowledge the pain they caused. You want them to take responsibility, to admit they were wrong, to finally validate your truth. But here's the reality. Narcissists don't give closure because doing so would require self-reflection, empathy, and accountability. Qualities they actively avoid. Waiting for a narcissist to give you peace is like waiting for a storm to apologize for the rain. It's not going to happen. What you must do instead is learn the art of detachment. This doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop needing the narcissist's permission to move on. You stop needing them to understand you in order to validate your experience. Detachment is the shift from needing external closure to finding internal clarity. It's realizing that your healing is not dependent on their actions. It's built entirely on your own. Detachment is about reclaiming your emotional autonomy. It means choosing to no longer engage in the toxic background. Fourth, the circular arguments, the desperate need to be heard by someone who never truly listened in the first place. Narcissists are masters at keeping you tethered through confusion, guilt, and false hope. The more you seek clarity from them, the more entangled you become in their emotional web. Detachment cuts those threads, and here's the truth. They know when you're starting to pull away. They'll bait you with sudden kindness, fake apologies, or dramatic emotional outbursts. They might try to check in, pretend they care, or even act like they've changed, but it's just another manipulation tactic to keep you emotionally invested. Don't fall for it. The moment you emotionally detach, you disarm them. You remove their ability to affect your mood, your mind, and your movement forward. When you stop expecting closure, you free yourself from their emotional grip. You stop giving them the power to define your worth or your story. You begin to find peace not in their explanation, but in your own growth. Detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's choosing your well-being over the chaos of waiting for someone else to fix what they broke. One of the most damaging patterns that forms in a relationship with a narcissist is the habit of chasing their approval. At first, they shower you with praise, attention, and admiration. It feels intoxicating. It makes you feel seen, special, and worthy. But over time, that praise becomes conditional. Suddenly, nothing you do is quite right. They criticize you subtly or blatantly. They withhold affection. They gaslight you into thinking you're the problem. And before you even realize it, you're stuck in a toxic loop, constantly trying to prove yourself to someone who keeps moving the finish line. That's not love. That's manipulation. And the real danger is that you start believing their narrative. You begin to question your own value. You become addicted to their approval the way someone craves a drug, waiting for the next high, even if it never comes. This dependency is exactly what the narcissist wants. Because the more you rely on them to feel worthy, the more power they have to control you. The way to break this cycle is through self-validation. That means learning to recognize your own worth without needing someone else to confirm it. It means trusting your own voice, honoring your own feelings, and standing in your truth, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Self-validation is a radical act of freedom. It says, I don't need you to tell me I'm enough. I already know I am. This is not always easy, especially if you've been conditioned to please others, to seek external validation, or to measure your worth by how others treat you. But healing begins the moment you stop handing out the pen and letting someone else write your story. You are not defined by how a narcissist sees you. You are not broken just because someone couldn't love you in a healthy way. Their inability to appreciate your worth is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their limitations. Start speaking kindly to yourself. Celebrate your growth. Acknowledge your efforts. Stand firm in your decisions. You don't need applause to validate your progress. You don't need someone who tore you down to finally build you up. When you validate yourself, you reclaim every part of your power they tried to take. Understanding narcissistic behavior is a crucial first step in protecting yourself. But awareness alone won't set you free. You can read all the books, watch all the videos, and dissect every manipulation tactic they used. But if you don't take action, you remain emotionally stuck in the same cycle. Knowledge is potential power, but applied knowledge is transformation. Healing from narcissistic abuse is not something that happens by chance, it happens by choice. And it requires bold, uncomfortable, and consistent action. Taking action means setting firm boundaries and sticking to them, even when it's hard. It means going no contact or low contact when necessary. Not because you hate them, but because you love yourself enough to stop bleeding emotionally. It means walking away from conversations that go nowhere, not replying to baiting messages, and removing yourself from toxic environments. Action is choosing yourself again and again, even when the narcissist tries to reel you back in with guilt, charm, or drama. It also means actively rebuilding your identity. After enduring narcissistic abuse, your sense of self may feel shattered. You might not even recognize who you are anymore. That's okay. Healing means rediscovering your values, your voice, your vision for life, and taking steps each day to reclaim it. Maybe that means starting therapy, joining a support group, journaling your thoughts, or surrounding yourself with people who reflect back your light instead of draining it. Another powerful action is emotional detachment. This doesn't mean becoming numb. It means becoming selective. You begin to guard your energy like a sacred space, giving access only to those who earn it. You stop trying to decode the narcissist's behavior or predict their next move. You focus on your own healing, your goals, your freedom. Real healing is messy. It's not always a straight line. Some days you'll feel strong, others you'll feel triggered. That's normal. But every day that you choose to act, to block, to walk away, to speak your truth, to say no, you are reclaiming your life. You are proving to yourself that you don't need the narcissist's permission to be whole. You don't need their closure to create your peace. Healing becomes a practice, a discipline, and eventually your new way of living.